This episode is brought to you by Sterling Soap Company. How often do you think about your soap? Well, if you answered, not much, maybe you should. You see, a lot of what passes for soap in stores is technically not soap, according to the FDA's definition. It's full of lab-created chemicals and detergents because, well, it's cheaper to make. Now, what if you could buy natural soap made from natural ingredients like tallow, palm oil, coconut oil, and scented with essential oils, and for just a little more than you'd pay for grocery store soap? Sterling Soap is 100% natural, and with a wide variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, and cologne, there's a product and a scent for just about everybody. Check them out for yourself at sterlingsoap.com. That's STIRLING soap.com.
This year at the NFL Draft, dreams will be realized and lives will be changed forever. While future stars take the stage, you can elevate your own game. The Sports History Network is giving away a $75 gift card to Sterling Soap Company, offering 100% natural, fan-approved, locker room-tested, stellar grooming products. Step into legendary status and enter now at sportshistorynetwork.com/giveaways. That's sportshistorynetwork.com/giveaways.
This is Basketball History 101 with Rick Loayza.
Welcome back to Award-winning Basketball History 101, part of the Sports History Network. I'm your host, Rick Loayza, and this is the podcast where we bring to life some of the forgotten stories from basketball history. We are bringing old school basketball to a new school audience, and today we bring you the story of Immaculata College. Now, depending on whom you ask, some say that they won the first 3 women's collegiate national championships in basketball. And if you are listening from outside the United States, here in America, we use the words college and university interchangeably. When we say collegiate sports, we mean university sports. But the reason that I wanted to share this story is because it was just so fascinating to me. As I have mentioned before, I love basketball in all of its forms. Now, if I am given a choice, I will almost always watch an NBA game ahead of all the others. But I do love college basketball. There is a different vibe and atmosphere when you have students representing their universities and playing against each other. I also used to coach my 3 kids in youth basketball. And back when I was in high school, I would sometimes go to the local park just to watch pickup basketball games, and sometimes I would join in and play as well. But pickup games were always so interesting to me because you have a game full of people, many of whom do not really know each other. So teams really have to get back to the basics in order to develop any sort of chemistry on the fly. Someone has to be willing to set the screens for the good shooters. Anyway, I'm getting a little carried away here with my love for the game, and I hope that comes through in these episodes, and I love the story of Immaculata College. Up until the 1970s, very few universities had a women's basketball team. Now, the men's teams have been playing for national championships since 1938, when the National Invitation Tournament, or NIT, held their very first tournament. But there was nothing for the women, again, since very few schools even had a team, and to me that is kind of a shame. I have a daughter who is quite athletic. It would have been awful if my daughter did not have the opportunity to play basketball when she was young. She loved the game and was quite good at it, at least at the local level. Every year that she played, she was either the first or second leading scorer on the team and was also often asked to guard the other team's best player. Now, I'm just glad that she grew up in an era where opportunities for female sports were everywhere. So with all that said, now you know what drew me to this story. Immaculata College of the 1970s had fewer than 500 students. By American university standards, that is tiny. The school is located in East Whiteland Township, which sits on the outskirts of the Philadelphia suburbs. It is a small Roman Catholic school founded and run by nuns. Now, these particular nuns are from the order called the Sisters, Servants of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, and it was an all-women's college. In 1970, they hired newly married 23-year-old Kathy Rush to be the head coach of their women's basketball team. They paid her only $450 for the entire season since that was all they had. You see, Immaculata was struggling financially and were having some serious conversations about closing their doors and needing to sell their property. That is a tough situation to be in where you do not even know if the school will exist the following season. Now, Kathy Rush, their new coach, knew what she was doing. She had played her college basketball at Westchester State College in Pennsylvania. At the time, Westchester State College had what was probably the best women's university team in the country. The problem was that there were not a lot of other schools to play. She played her first 2 years at Westchester, but then her coach resigned and she switched to gymnastics for the last 2 years. But she knew the game of basketball. She was ambitious and she could flat out coach. So with that, she took on a team full of players that were close enough in age to be her younger sisters. She began aggressively recruiting and developing the talent that she had on the squad. She brought Immaculata College from nothing to a national contender at a tiny school with virtually no budget. And did I mention that the school did not even have a gym? The gym burned down 3 months before Rush took the job as head coach, and the school did not have the funds to rebuild it. So the team had to practice at a local activity center, and they had to play their home games at a local high school. This was about as far away from big-time university sports as you could get. In 1972, there was a new organization called the Association for Intercollegiate Athletics for Women, or the AIAW. This organization stepped in because the NCAA, the official governing body of intercollegiate athletics in the United States, did not have a women's division yet. Of course, they would later on. At this point, Rush had developed her team to the point where they were winning many more games than they were losing, and they were becoming quite a little powerhouse school for women's basketball. Rush experimented with having some male students from a nearby university come and scrimmage against her team to give her players an opportunity to play under a different kind of pressure in order to make their game seem easier. Unfortunately, the experiment did not last long, as the mother superior of the college put an end to it. She did not like the idea of college men making physical contact with her students in a Catholic environment, so the men had to go. But while it lasted, it did help improve the Mighty Mac's ability to play under pressure. So the Mighty Macs went through the season winning game after game, and as the season wore on, they were bringing in more and more fans, which meant more income for the university through ticket sales. The entire community jumped behind the Mighty Macs and became supporters. They were the little engine that could. The nuns who ran the school would all come out to support their students wearing their nuns' habits with black Converse high tops. The nuns were able to get a bunch of buckets from a local hardware store, and they would bang those buckets throughout the game. This is how the nuns got the nickname, the Bucket Brigade. They were loud and enthusiastic supporters of the team. It was amazing as Immaculata took on these other schools with 30 nuns cheering wildly for the Macs. I really wish I could have seen one of their games. It seems like a great atmosphere. Now, as the Macs piled up victories, they made it to the playoffs where they had to play Westchester State College in the regional finals. The Macs got destroyed by 32 points in that contest, and it was the first time that Kathy Rush had to coach against the school that she had played for. The Mighty Macs thought that their season was over with that loss. When they returned to campus, they received some amazing news, and I will share that news when we come back after this break.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
At the Sports History Network, we're all about sports yesteryear, and so we're so pleased to introduce you to Row One, an online memorabilia gallery and shop that brings your sports history to life anywhere. The Row One gallery includes over 5,200 gorgeously reproduced prints of team posters, game program covers, game tickets, advertisements, and more in baseball, pro and college football, pro and college basketball, and more. And any gallery item may be printed in a variety of sizes on wood, metal, canvas, acrylic, or poster paper. And in Row One shop, check out the thousands more of unique items with the retro and historical designs dating back to 1876, including t-shirts, long sleeve shirts, phone cases, mugs, blankets, pillows, towels, and even shower curtains. Go to sportshistorynetwork.com, ROW1, for access to the full Row One catalog and for gallery prints and gift items, plus get a 15% discount off all prints on the Row One Pictorum Gallery with coupon code SHN15. Follow the link on the show notes.
Hello, sports history fans. I'm Ross from the podcast Pigskin Tales. You're about to jump into another thrilling sports history moment, but first, let's dive into today's sponsor, just in time for the holiday season. Introducing Art of Words, the brainchild of word artist Dan Duffy from Philadelphia. Dan meticulously crafts stunning images by handwriting relevant words from some of the greatest sports moments in time. These unique, budget-friendly illustrations are the perfect gift, sparking cherished memories and capturing hearts. Choose from city skylines, sports, history, and musicians to find a piece for everyone. And here's the exciting part. For that sports fanatic in your life, gift them a piece of their favorite team or player's history. Art of Words tells a compelling story. Explore collegiate stadiums, each meticulously crafted with every football victory etched into words. Or venture into baseball stadiums, handwritten with every player from the team's illustrious history. My favorite on the site is Bryce Harper 2021 MVP year. Because I'm a big stats guy, I think that's one of the coolest things ever. Check it out. Don't wait. Order a print today for yourself and your loved one this holiday season. Transform your wall into a gallery of captivating art and surprise your family and friends with a print of their own. Use code SHN15 at artofwords.com for a 15% discount on your order in November and December. Visit Art of Words, where words magically transform into stunning art, evoking cherished memories and touching the hearts of those who you care about. Again, use the code SHN15 for 15% off at artofwords.com.
Welcome back to the show, and let us continue with the Cinderella season of Immaculata College back in 1972. Now, as I mentioned, 1972 was also the year of the first national championship tournament put on by the AIAW. And as luck would have it, the AIAW selected Immaculata College as one of their 4 at-large bids for the national tournament. Despite their loss to Westchester, their overall record earned them a spot in the tournament to decide the national champion. Now, here is some bad news. This could not be a good story if it did not have some ups and downs. Immaculata had no budget to send the team to the national tournament, so the team quickly had to get started with some fundraising, and they were able to collect enough money to bring 2 coaches and 8 players. Now, that was fantastic that they raised the money so quickly. What was not so great was that the team had 11 players, which meant that Rush had to pick 3 players to leave home. Even today, Rush says that the situation led to one of the most gut-wrenching decisions she ever had to make. Telling 3 players that despite all of their hard work all season long, that they could not travel to the tournament was awful. And again, this story has so many ups and downs. With the very first AIAW tournament, the Mighty Macs of Immaculata College rolled through the competition and made it all the way to the national championship game held at Illinois State University. And by coincidence, Immaculata found themselves in a rematch with their coach's old school, Westchester State College, the same team that had defeated them by 32 points just 2 weeks earlier. I mean, if this game happened today, could you imagine the storylines that the sports media would create? A head coach leading her team against the school she played for? And it was a David and Goliath story as tiny Immaculata was playing a much larger school in Westchester. ESPN would have talked about it for a week leading up to the game. In the end, the Mighty Macs won the game 52-48 to secure the first national championship for women's collegiate basketball. They did it. The championship brought so much positive attention to Immaculata that the following year, enrollment shot through the roof as so many women wanted to attend there as students. And that helped solve the school's financial troubles. With more students, it meant more tuition and school fees. And there was a significant increase in donations to the college. In the end, Immaculata did not have to sell their property. They now had the funds to continue operating. Kathy Rush and the basketball team literally saved the school from having to shut down. Now, this really goes beyond just a basketball story, and that is why I wanted to share it with you. Do you remember how at the beginning of the episode where I said it depends on who you talk to? Well, there is a reason for that. Prior to the AIAW, there was another organization called the CIAW, or Commission on Intercollegiate Athletics for Women, and they held 3 tournaments starting in 1969. The winners of those 3 tournaments were Westchester, Cal State Fullerton, and Mississippi State College, and some acknowledge these tournaments as true national championships, while others do not. As far as I'm concerned, I would count them because these were the only end-of-season tournaments held for the best teams in the country. However, in any case, the AIAW came along in 1972 and Immaculata won that tournament in its first year of existence. Now, this is why many consider Immaculata College to be the first national championship in women's basketball. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, they also won the second national championship in 1973 when they defeated Queens College 59-52. And then in 1974, they defeated Mississippi College by a score of 68-53. And they were the three-time national champions. Now, here's the thing that I did not realize until I started doing research for this story. They also went to the championship game in 1975 and in 1976, but they lost both times to a new powerhouse school, Delta State College from Mississippi. And then that was it for Immaculata College. They went to the championship game 5 years in a row, winning 3 of them. That is an amazing run. Kathy Rush coached the Mags for one more year and then retired to raise her 2 boys, and she never coached again. Although her time at Immaculata College was good enough to get her inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame in 2008. By the late 1970s, there was new legislation in the United States called Title IX. The new law had to do with providing equal access to women in jobs and schools, but what it meant practically for universities was that they had to spend the same amount of money on their women's teams as they did on their men's teams. And this means that a whole bunch of universities had to start adding women's teams in all kinds of sports in order to develop a budget that equaled the budget of the men's teams. Universities all over the country were adding women's soccer, volleyball, cross country, lacrosse, swimming, water polo, softball, you name it. With this new reality, many of the larger big budget schools were able to out-recruit tiny schools like Immaculata, which never had a budget to begin with. They had so little money that they could not even afford their own uniforms. The team used these blue dresses that the nuns wore for exercising. The uniforms were a white, short-sleeved blouse under a dress with a skirt that went down to the knees. I mean, they looked like a group of Amish women trying to play basketball, but that was the best they had. And for Immaculata, it was enough. Today, the school is known as Immaculata University and has 2,500 students studying in a broad range of programs. And back in 2005, they went co-ed and allowed male students to start enrolling. The school now plays in Division III of the NCAA, which is essentially the third division of collegiate athletics in the United States. But what no one can take away from them is the fact that they won 3 national championships at the top level, and those trophies belong to the school forever. Well, I hope you are inspired by the story as much as I was. There is a movie or film out there about this very story, and it's called The Mighty Macs, and it stars Carla Gugino as Coach Kathy Rush. If you have 90 minutes to spare, go find it and check it out. Well, that does it for today. Join us next time when we share another story from the annals of basketball history. That's next time on Basketball History 101, part of the Sports History Network, the headquarters of Sports Yesteryear. Go to sportshistorynetwork.com to find out more about this and other sports history podcasts. If you like what you hear, please hit that subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts. And check out our page on Facebook. It's called Basketball History 101 Podcast. There you will find shorter historical posts and also announce there when new episodes come out. I want to thank my producer and editor, Jacob Loayza. Join us each week as we continue to mine the history of basketball for more great stories from the past. Take care and see you soon.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, aka the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website. Seriously, all you gotta do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you gotta do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.